Hello, everyone. Welcome to Marketing Rapid Fire Episode 8. I had to kind of pinch myself this morning. I didn't believe we're done 8 episodes. Time really flies. I mean, we do this every 2 weeks. It's been absolutely awesome. If this is your first time here, quick intro to what the show is. It's basically where I get 4 marketers on board. We focus on 3 to 4 main topics. We have 1 minute to answer every single question, and there's a ton of laughter. A lot of people lapse over the 1 minute, and there's a lot of fun conversation that happens. The idea behind the show is just so, everybody comes with their own perspective and learning. So it's very rare in a marketing event to kind of get these many different perspectives on the same topic. And so I thought, why not do this show and really change the way we all learn marketing. Super happy to have all 4 of my lovely panelists here with us. Aayush, Ayushi, Gowtham, Tamanna. Thank you so much for being here today. And as you already probably know, I am your host, Vanshika Mehta. I basically am a brand storyteller, communication specialist, and host of this lovely show that I really enjoy putting together. I would love for my panelists to take a quick minute and introduce yourselves. Ayush, if you'd go first.
Sure. Does it come with a buzzer?
This one doesn't come with a buzzer.
So guys, this is Aayush Arora. I work with Testbook at the moment. This is an edutech startup, and I've been in the field of digital marketing for about 7.5 years. Started with running my own digital marketing agency, and I ran it for about 3.5 years. And I thought, okay, that's not enough. I want to learn from the giants. So we guys shut the shop. We moved to, I personally moved to a digital marketing agency. Started with Global 360, then moved to Merkle Socrates, which is Dense Wages Network. And now I'm on to the brand side. The agency days are over. So yeah, that's about me talking about the work part.
That's awesome.
Glad to be here, Vanshika.
Welcome. Ayushi, take it over.
Hi everyone, I am Ayushi. I am a marketer who moved to marketing from product, and I worked in 3 industries. So I built payment products, then I moved to working into retail, and now I work in healthcare. Cannot think of a more interesting industry to be in right now in the middle of this pandemic. So yeah, quite a lot of fun. I look at all digital and social campaigns at Novartis across all patient and therapeutic categories that we have.
That's awesome. Welcome. Gowtham, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, hi, this is Gowtham here. I work as a marketing manager at Ather Energy, so we make EV scooters and stuff. Apart from that, I think I've been in marketing for like 5 years odd now. And I've been in like different industries. I've been in the ad tech space, and I've been in the fashion space and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very interesting space to be at this time.
That's awesome. Welcome. Tamanna, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Tamanna Chanana. I am currently associated as a GTM manager with Hindustan Times. I also manage CEO and CXO engagement for HD. And I'm coming from an engineering background and started my journey as a marketer itself. And I was super excited to do all of this because I am a techo plus creative person. You can see some of the pieces backside.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's where I found that technical plus creativity lies in marketing. And that's where I started all of this. I initially started with an advertising agency, worked for 1.5 years there, then worked on my own startup. Then realized that there is a need of doing an MBA, and you need to be on the ground and see what is the ground reality. Then joined Soil as an MBA school, and then joined HD. So it's really a roller coaster journey that I have been.
Lovely. All right. If you're new here, the rules are very simple. Every person gets 1 minute to answer the question. We have about 12 questions, so the show should not take more than about 48 to 50 minutes on the dot. Provided we all keep within the 1 minute buzzer, it shouldn't be more than an hour. So really looking forward to this. Let's get the show started. Ayush, the question will be for you, then Ayushi, then Gowtham and Tamanna. So looking forward to it. When the buzzer rings or if the person finishes, feel free to take over. All right, so the first question to Ayush. So you have started a new company and you need to hire your first person for your marketing team. Who will you hire?
Is it like a human being, or is it like the kind of marketer that I would have?
The human, like kind of marketer. What person would you hire first?
Sales. I'd hire a salesperson because I would like to focus on the deliverables actually. So I'd hire a salesperson first.
Not sales, within the marketing team. If you had to hire one person within the marketing team, who would you hire first?
No, I'm talking, when I say sales, I'm talking about lead generation and everything.
Okay,
So,
got it. Okay. Ayushi, what's your answer?
I think I would hire a brand person.
Okay, why?
Because while I understand that this is going to be the first marketing hire, so my understanding is that the organization already built in terms of what they're selling, who's there to sell, and management. They probably don't have someone narrative for them for what they're selling, which is why I go with brand first.
Got it. Gautam, who would you hire first?
Yeah, I think I would want to sort of compliment this person from what I have as skill sets, right? So I'll probably hire a graphic designer first, and then I'll probably like work, because I think I'll be able to manage campaigns and stuff like that. And the graphic part of it is something that I don't hold as a skill set. And
Got it. Got it. Tamanna, who would you hire first?
I would hire a combination of IQ and EQ. So a person who is super intelligent in sales and is super intelligent in creative sense for understanding their customers. So for me, the marketing person would be a combination of things.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So none of you buzzed it, so that's not a good trial run. I was expecting you to buzz it at some point. But okay, so all of you are very well within the time. All right, the next question, Ayush, again goes to you. What's the one core metric that all startup founders should focus on in marketing if they are headed towards a funding round?
So I've gone through this particular thing. I've worked with a lot of startups during my own startup journey. I mean, another reason why I answered sales is because most founders really think that everything is okay if you build out, the core values, but then non-funded startups don't work like funded startups, when they're starting out. So I think it's the most fundamental metric before you go for any round of funding is traction. So for traction, it could be anything. I mean, if you're doing a product which basically sells physical products, or it's subscriptions, so definitely go for subscriptions. If you have a proof of concept in terms of customers, that's, nothing could be better than that. And your investors will love you for that.
Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
I would say cost of acquiring a customer. So not just the cost of the lead, but also if I'm going for funding. Now, if I were to just look at if my business is say getting adoption, I would have looked at absolute numbers in terms of customers I'm getting. But because I'm going for funding, I need to be able to justify at what cost am I picking up my customers, irrespective of the business model. So I'd actually look at the cost per customer, because then if I am going to project and say that I'm going to do so much business, I know how much money I need to spend together.
Got it. Gautam, go for it.
Yeah, hands down revenue, right? Like, it's basically, like, I mean, revenue is an indicator for a lot of things. I mean, if you're a small startup and if not, like, if you're bootstrapped, or even if you're funded for that matter, you're going for Series A, Series B, and so on and so forth. And you have a product that is in the market, and if that's the case, then revenue definitely, right?
Got it. Tamanna?
I'm totally in sync with Ayush and Gautam, because revenue is one of the factors that everyone needs to focus upon. And if I know that this is something that is driving a lot of sales, but my margins are pretty high, so I would certainly take that as a point and then market it to the fundraisers. Because at the end of the day, what matters is what is in for me. As a founder, if I'm not getting anything, and if these people are also not getting anything, then I don't think so there is any sense. So you need to have a mutual connect with both of them.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So next question again goes to Ayush. If you had to explain a 10-year-old the concept of a customer buyer journey or a customer, that entire thing, how would you explain it to a 10-year-old?
A 10-year-old would know it better than I would. Because a 10-year-old actually sells to his mom or father every single day whenever they want a candy or an ice cream or something, and they don't even have anything to offer. besides, of course, emotions and gooey eyes and love. So I think they know it pretty well. It's pretty easy actually. So I tell them ki yaar, I mean, am I allowed to speak Hindi and English?
Yeah, go for it.
So for example, if I'll simply tell a turner, customer acquisition is pretty easy, dude. You're a champ already. So the way you sell your mom that, hey, I want candy even though I have rotten teeth, like gooey eyes and all that, that's actually what you do in marketing. And when they say, okay, fine, go for it, that's when you have acquired the customer.
Okay, got it. Ayushi, how would you explain it to a 10-year-old?
I totally agree with Ayush that kids are really smart. And I also think 10 years today have really evolved. So I know this 9-year-old who has her own iPad and iPhone for digital classes currently, and she's better at it than her mother. So I think the whole funnel, right? I would probably pick up an analogy of something that they're interested in. See, I'm going to take an example of this 9-year-old girl that I just mentioned because I think she's the closest, And then in putting in her persona, I would just talk her through this example of this Lego set that she got to know that somebody else in her class has. And that's that point of attraction, which she then plays with and has an interest and a desire to buy. And she, tries to search for it on her iPhone and figures out more details and finally pushes it, to the buyer saying that I'm the user and I want this for this reason. So I'll just probably do a storytelling like that.
Yes, finally we had our first buzzer. We have to do the first 2 to 3 questions. I'm really happy. Now we know what the buzzer sounds like. Gautham, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally in sync with what Ayushi and Aayush had mentioned, right? I think I'll probably explain with an analogy. I think that's the best way of storytelling, right? And my analogy could be as simple as just walking that kid down the supermarket aisle and then telling him how he sort of goes about deciding what product or what candy that he's going to choose. And I'll probably put in those terms of prospecting and consideration and stuff like that whenever he does certain movements. It'll be like a real life example that I'll be sort of setting it.
Got it.
Probably the way I'll go about it.
Got it. Tamanna, go for it.
Great learning experience from all of you. And one point I would like to add on is, you see, there are multiple products that are available. And I would give this child 5-6 samples of a chocolate, and I will ask him to choose one. And if he chooses 5-star or Cadbury, I will ask him why. Then you will understand that people have a mindset that the most colorful thing would be the one that they would be choosing for. And that's where you make this child understood that this is the entire process, how a customer actually buys a product, just because of your product packaging or the kind of analysis that you have done to bring a brand value for your product. And in fact, the ads also play a very important role, I would say. Whenever they see a lot of advertisements around there and that are something very close to their heart, like Cadbury always does. Meetha hai, kuch meetha ho jaye type, right? Yeah. So that's where you can ideally connect with her.
Love it. All right, just in time, not bad. All right, so now let's move on to the second segment, which will be all about growth and marketing. I've got 3 questions for you. Let's start with the toughest question first. Toughest question first. This is right up your alley. You will know the answer to this, I guarantee you. Okay, so the first question is churn is a word that nobody loves. The fact that your customers churn, and it's something that happens in all businesses. I mean, it's something you can't control. How do you kind of control that? What are your top 5 tips to reduce the churn metric as much as possible and keep people with you for the longest time that you can?
I'd actually, would slightly beg to differ from, your major thing that churn is actually a bad thing. I personally feel that churn is not particularly bad. It's actually about people graduating from one point to another. So if I take the example, I'm going to hit a buzzer on this because I have a lot to say. So for example, if a hospital keeps on counting how many patients are churning out, that's a poor metric to look at because they would want that to happen. Yeah. Particularly, like for example, when it comes to test work, the thing that we are learning. An average user journey for a student preparing for government examinations is 2 to 3 years, which is a lot, by the way. We would want that the churn should be so high that the people should be finishing their preparations in 6 months to 1 year. That would mean that the product is good, it worked for them pretty fast, and they were able to get employed so quickly. So I actually would want churn to happen personally. And churn does not necessarily mean you losing business. It means, yes, I told you. So churn actually usually means that people are graduating from your product to another. A school would want a churn to happen so that people can go to college. That's important. If churn doesn't happen, that's a problem. But answering your question, for products which actually want the circle to keep going on, let's say for example Netflix. By the way, they also kicked out some users. But for them, obviously the easiest thing to control is to keep learning why the churn is happening. A lot of users want to understand why it happened, but don't do enough qualitative analysis to figure out, talk to users ki bhai kyun choda. It just makes so much more sense, and that's something very beautifully is done by Amazon Audible. If you try to cancel the subscription, I don't know how many of you tried that. When you try to cancel the subscription, they say, hey, why are you doing this? Depending on the option you choose, they give you offers. Hey, this is too costly. Hey, no worries. You pay only alternate months. Or something or the other. So that's one way to control it. Talking to customers.
Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
Yeah, agreeing with Ayush, churn isn't a bad thing. If you're say Google search, right, you want churn to happen. You want people to find the result, right? If you're Tinder, you want people to get off your app and meet someone. However, in terms of controlling churn, one thing that he's spoken about is to identify and learn from the user journey. Another thing that I would actually add is to perhaps look at feature updates that would actually address the change in the journey. Sometimes your product and business model won't be able to fit that in, right? So search will never move into a model like a Yahoo homepage, right? Where everything is on it because the model is such. Hence, it really depends on the nature of business. If you're in business where churn is evil, such as a subscription-based model where you want to keep them tied in, you essentially look at a mix of keeping the user invested through feature upgrades and continuously iterating and learning what their journey is.
Got it. Gautam, go for it.
Okay. I think churn is a very subjective topic, right? Like as what Ayush was mentioning. And also, I'm sort of looking at churn as a overall lifetime sort of a thing. Like, for example, as Ayushi was mentioning about search and stuff, I think search is about the multiple searches, right? Like, I search, I get out, and then I search again something for it. So the churn here sort of is if he transits from Google to a Yahoo or a Bing for that matter, right? Okay, having said that, right? Like, churn is probably a direct measure of your customer experience, like to those industries which matter, right? It's directly linked to customer experience, right? And if there are, for example, like as you grow, there is a definite chance that the quality is going to take its hit, right? But if you want to sort of control this churn and also develop a brand in such manner that you don't sort of you don't sort of show importance to your first customer and then you stop showing importance to the 10th customer. So in order to ensure that, I think it's just a couple of checks that you'll have to make sure that your customer, customer experience continues to have, like right from the journey of booking to your experience, your product, and post experience, right? Because if you want that person to come back, it's very important to sort of like, I think it's just a matter of showing concern. Like, if you're having certain key targets for the year or key targets for the quarter, you'll have the certain teams which specifically concentrates on this customer. If that is in check, I think the further journey was taken care of, and I think churn could be controlled to an extent that way, right?
Got it. Tamanna, go for it.
Sure. So basically, churn, I would say, is somewhere for every product, it is very different. You need to understand what your customer wants. And there are times when you actually, so it's very important if you keep on analyzing your parameters that you are using right now. If you keep on analyzing within a certain time, you will understand that what is your customer behavior. And once your customer behavior is in sync with what you want to say, that the turnaround time will really reduce, just because of one major thing, that you are in sync with what your customers are actually thinking about. And once things are in sync, there is a lot of changes that you will see in your own customers and in your own perspective as a brand. And because this we have seen in one of our subscription model, that once we changed few things and we try to adopt a new strategy to and the communication that we are trying to follow, and then you try to sync it with it, and then you will see that there is a lot change that happens. Because at the end of the day, what matters is how you are actually putting your hands together as a brand plus as a customer. So what they need to go in hand to follow the path, and that's how turnaround time is reduced.
Got it. Okay. Next question is suppose your company completely cuts back budgets and says you can only do organic marketing, but you still have to keep getting customers month over month. What are your top 3 channels and methods you do to totally run your performance on organic, everything organic?
Well, thankfully, when it comes to us, around 70% conversions happen through organic. So, I don't think that's going to be a big problem. Narendra, don't do that. But if I talk about that, obviously SEO, that's something we are very strong at and we would like to build on that. Other than that, YouTube plays a lot of role, particularly. See, our product is such, where YouTube is actually more, it's edutech. So 89 to 90% of the students actually are already watching videos on YouTube and trying to learn. So that's something we will double down on and try to get from there. But for B2B, it definitely makes sense to use LinkedIn. It's really potent. And I think if you're an agency or a PR firm or someone like you, Vanshika, obviously LinkedIn would work really, really well.
It so far is, touch wood. Yeah, go for it, Ayushi.
For healthcare, SEO obviously it's health-related searches and Google is a standard now. But also communities. So patients, when they actually seek help, and especially those with chronic diseases, look at communities very strongly. So say Facebook groups, Telegram groups are actually the go-to channels. So a mix of health articles on the website, SEO, and communities through Facebook, Telegrams, etc.
Got it. Gautam, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think Ayushi and Ayush have sort of completed out the channels that are possible, right? But what I go about it is basically sort of dividing the users into like 2 buckets. Like one is this acquired user bucket, and then one is the new user prospecting or acquisition bucket. Right? The acquired user is who's entered your system in some form or fashion, but they need not transact to be an acquired user. They could probably just be in your system. Right? And so there are multiple ways. Like for example, your social followers is one. Your email subscriber list is one. Your community, if you have like a forum that is already built out, like for Ather Energy, we have a forum, and there's a community, and there's a lot of advocates in this community and stuff like that who can do word around and stuff. And apart from all of this, right? Like if it's going to be organic, right? And if you don't have budget, I think you should start thinking what can actually go viral, right? Like think of something really wacky,
Yeah.
that has this potential to sort of give you that disproportionate effect. Yeah, so probably I'll go with that. Right?
Virality is always a good thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing at all. Tamanna, go for it.
Okay, so this is something that I have started in HT. Organic is one of the gig I always prefer, because one way is people really trust you. They are not very in sync with this is not a Facebook ad. This is similar like an ad. Like if you see in a newspaper, there are likely to be a lot of new ads and ads and ads. But it is very different, and it is very important that there should be people around in your organization who act as an influencer. So all the CEOs or CXOs that you see in HT now talk about their own personal learnings, their own personal experience, because of the major thing that we really want these people to be the influencers for us. Not just in terms of SEO or in terms of YouTube or in terms of LinkedIn, but actually building a network from their own knowledge that they have possessed for so many years. They can actually go ahead and talk about it, and you will find all of them talking about their experiences or things on it.
That's lovely. Awesome. Last question in this segment goes to Ayush. What is the one thing that every landing page must have for a performance campaign or a growth campaign to convert?
I want a double buzzer for this one because I've written multiple posts on landing pages. So, wait for it. Well, landing page. Yeah.
We're all yours.
So when it comes to landing pages, there are multiple things to go for, and I'll start from the top. I'm gonna take my time.
One thing only.
Just one thing.
One thing.
Okay, then I misheard the question. Then okay, I was all hyped up for this. I was like, when somebody says landing pages, I'm like, go.
Okay, go for two.
Okay, go for two. Okay, one is the loading time of the landing page. I really want the loading time to be low. Otherwise, it's a poor experience. Especially when I'm talking about India, because 2G is still a very common network, even though the communications are talking about 4G networks and 5G as well now. And the other thing is, the copy has to be clean. Indians don't read as much. We're not readers particularly. It has to be graphically shown, and there has to be one large, big ass CTA that you can open. If there are multiple CTAs, you're drowning yourself.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
That's all. Yeah.
Go for it. One or two. You have the option.
So to add to that, I would say it should be mobile optimized. Still interesting how a lot of brands don't have that. And you should have your pixels, everything placed and all the hygiene done on your landing page, right? You can have the best landing page, but if you forgot how to tag it or don't have your GTM and your GA and everything sorted, it's going to be a mess.
Oh wow. Very, very interesting. Gautam, go for it.
Yeah, I think probably I'll go for two things. Right? Again, trying to be subjective here. I mean, like if I'm going to divide the products that we sort of buy online into two things, one is going to be a planned purchase, another is going to be a impulsive purchase, right? Impulsive is your e-commerce websites where you have like these offers and stuff like that going on. But e-commerce websites, most important things that you can have is that a major hook, right? Like that can be an offer, that can be this new product launch or anything of that nature, right? So what is in trend or what is in current in the segment, that should be sort of clearly called out, and connection between your CTA to your landing page. Like, I mean, you click on the CTA, it has a communication, you land on your landing page and it has a different communication, and people are not able to connect, they probably drop off. Right? I mean, apart from what Aayush and Ayushi, like, I mean, those are definitely that you'll have to maintain as a sanity, right? This is probably for the impulse purchase sort of a thing. I'll just finish the other thing is planned purchase, right? Planned purchase is all about education, right? Like, I mean, the reason why it's called planned purchase is because you need to sort of educate the customer to an extent they understand your product quite well. Like, I mean, your banner or your creative can only call out so much. You can only call out saying that it's a great product. Right? I mean, once they click in, they have to know what exactly this product comes out with. And so, yeah, so content here is like the key.
Got it.
The user.
Got it. Tamanna, go for it.
So I have been making a lot of landing pages in the last almost 3-4 months because a lot of campaigns have been gone digital. And one of the key things that I always keep up to mark is the CTA. If the CTA is not right, we are likely to lose the opportunity. And the communication that goes in, either the form should be open, that what you want, and the clear communication should be driven, or give a clean CTA that this is what we are doing, this is what your purpose is, and this is what our objective is. And then put up your brand story behind it, because people are like, what a lot of landing pages I've seen, they keep on telling their story initially and then the CTA comes. So that's something really wrong at their end. It should be always on the first kick, that this is what I want, this is how I want, and this is what it is about. The entire campaign is it. If you really want to get an end grasp of it, please go down. That's what you have to do.
Very simple. Very well put. Very, very well put. Okay. So now we're at the halfway point. So we're going to switch the order. So it's going to go Tamanna, Gautham, Ayushi, Aayush. Aayush is very happy. He's not
very happy.
Since you've been doing a lot of emails and stuff, I think this is a good segment for Tamanna to even start off.
Sure.
The next couple of questions are going to be about email marketing. So Tamanna, what is your winning formula for a subject line to get the maximum amount of opens for your email campaign?
Okay, this is something I did twice and it was like tremendous, 50% above open rate. So what I did, I initially put the personalization connect in the first code. The first name is there, and then the entire thing that I want to portray. That's all I did, and that's where it worked very well. And almost 90% of my campaign have 50% above open rate just because of one thing that I did.
That's awesome. Gautam, go for it.
I mean, just trying to sort of trying to give a different answer or something that you tried and it worked out, right?
Sure.
I mean, being contextual to the message, to the email is something that everybody goes with. Probably you should probably have this subject line which is very intriguing, right? Like you don't probably for example, if you're trying to talk about a product, and the product has three important features. Let's say it's better, faster, and newer. You stop it at that. You say better, faster, and newer, and then stop it at that. I mean, people are like, what is he talking about, right? And then there is some sort of intrigue happening. I'm sure I'm sort of in line with what Tamanna just mentioned, but in order to sort of give you a different answer, I think intriguing subject lines would be a good start.
Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
I have a flip perspective in this because I work in a regulated industry, so you can't do intriguing subject lines. What actually works is to be very clear and concise about what's actually and accurately there. Quantitative attributes up first, or you just state that this is what you will get out of the email. So if I know, I mean, if your subject line is faster, stronger, smarter, for instance, it's catchy and maybe it's an emoji or something, but it doesn't really tell me what do I get out of it. If there's a twist around something that pertains to what I will exactly get out of reading that email, it helps in my case.
Got it. Ayush, go for it.
So I was just thinking about what kind of funny lines could be used for Ayushi's, career, right? Now, imagine you get an email from Novartis and they say basically, hey, you need to sit down for it. Your reports are in. Crazy high open rates, man. Crazy high open rates. But I mean, what I've understood really is a lot from what Gautham actually said. Obviously, personalization obviously matters, but most emails are actually doing that. So it's all about standing out in the emails because a lot of Indians don't really, look at emails the same way like Americans or Europeans do. So, for us, emails is like a dump yard. Sab pada hai usme bas kahin na kahin. It's all about searching and finding the right email. So if you really want to stand out, it has to be, as Gautham said, right? And it has to be very intriguing. When I say intriguing, with Gautham, the idea was like faster and something else, right? He used two more objectives. Personally, I would want to use intriguing in the context of the user. So, for example, I know I'm selling something to students. So I would want to talk more about what they find intriguing, not what I sell as intriguing. So it has to be like, Vanshika, this time you're going to crack it. Here is how.
Got it. Awesome. Tamanna, next question to you is spam is a word that nobody likes. And as email marketers try to reduce as much as possible. What are the top 3 to 5 things you do to ensure that you are not spamming your users? I mean, what do you keep as a kind of check inside? Like, okay, maybe this is too much, or what are your thoughts on not spamming your email list?
There are 3 things I would say. One is that the right time that you are posting it. Okay, if you have a right set of time when you are placing the email campaign, that's one thing, because people are flooded with emails in the morning. So you have to find the right set of time according to your audience, and it is very specific to the product that we own. And if I'm selling it for a newspaper, obviously morning times work for us. If I'm doing it for any other consumer marketing campaigns, maybe in the evening or in the afternoon time, this works. Second thing I do to keep a spam check is that the content is very full of all the lines, all the emotions that we are trying to place are very natural. They are very customer centric, and nothing is copied from anywhere. That's one thing we always keep a check on, because a hygiene check on an email is very important before placing anything, because anyway, if it is gone in spam, we are all gone. So that's the entire campaign is gone.
Totally. Gautham, go for it.
Yeah, I think See, I think spam is a sort of an antonym to value, right? Like, I mean, if you stop providing value, then basically that sort of becomes a spam, right? Like, I mean, what leads to spam is probably 2 or 3 reasons. Like, probably one is repetitive information too many times, and then another is the product or service that you're selling to this particular person is not adding any value to him. Like, I mean, while the product has some value, it probably is not contextual to him, right? And the third thing is, I mean, the broader, more wider thing is you're hungry for revenue, and you end up sort of like pushing too much and stuff like that. As Tamanna was just mentioning, right? Like, I mean, being too salesy is also another reason why it sort of goes to a spam. So, I mean, you can stop all of this, right? Like, for example, repetitive information, you can probably like have a lot of sanity check in your email marketing or your cold calling sort of a setup, right? For example,
Go for it.
I keep.
Okay.
Okay. So what I was trying to say is that, I mean, having these sanity checks, for example, like you say that, okay, I'm not going to send. So you from the data that you have, you know for a fact that if I'm going to send this mail more than 5 times to this user, this person is not going to convert. Right, so you put a stop at 5. You put a hard stop at 5 if this is a repetitive information. 5 is still not a big number, but yeah, right, I'm saying like, yeah, it basically depends on like where your email lands. Where like is it in a promotions or a spam folder and stuff. So in order to just get their attention is how you sort of go about it. Right? So yeah, so having these sanity checks and also providing some sort of value.
Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
Yeah, I think the best way to avoid spam is to not spam. So be contextual, be relevant. Do not misuse, your users' real estate, because it's, as you know, the whole dump ad thing is really true. And then don't dump more garbage where somebody's already just been dumping garbage for a while. Be contextual and relevant. I will never miss a transaction alert from a purchase mail, and then you could follow that up with one communication, but don't spam me throughout your season of sale or whatever, right? So it's just about doing the right thing as a marketer more than anything else.
Got it. Ayush, go for it.
I think India has a lot of spam mails, particularly because of 2 reasons. One, there are no strong regulations like there are in US or Singapore.
And all of that.
Yeah, and then email cost is so cheap thanks to Amazon SES. Then it is because it's the cheapest form of communication. So there is no incentive for a marketer to really not spam. So I personally like 2 kind of lists. I have one list which I know I'm going to spam, frankly, and those who say that who don't spam at all, they are not telling you the true story, very frankly. So I think a lot of marketers spam. They don't like to talk about it. And on the other hand, I have a very strong curated list where I choose not to spam. Ki nahi hai spam chodo, I'll not even send an email unless you have asked for it. So that's one list. It has to be prompted by the user. Of course, it could be very simple. It could be like there is a list. There is a chain of 4 emails that you would want. Send me those emails. I would want to learn. Or there is a lead magnet or a tripwire that I'm actually using as emails. But I stop. I personally don't like spamming. I actually would want a very small email list, which I know converts, much more than a large email list, because that's what it makes sense to me. But why it spams, I think, of course, Gowtham, all of you guys have actually mentioned it pretty brilliantly. It's about providing value. But other than that, there are some technical parameters as well. See, a user will actually categorize something as spam or not after they actually look at the email. I think it's also about how Gmail actually treats your emails as spam.
Yes.
So I think the right headlines and not too many exclamation marks and not too many offer alerts. Buy now, sale, 6 exclamation marks. I think that's a problem.
Got it.
It has to be written 1-to-1.
Got it. Last question in this segment to Tamanna and to all of you. Your users give you a lot of data. The name, the age, the location, the date of birth, blah, 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 blah. You have all of these filters. Where do you draw the line and say, like, I as an email marketer have segmented it too much? Like, just because I have all of this data, how do I not over segment? I think that's one thing that has always challenged me. Like, मेरे पास इतना data है, I can segment it this way, that way, that way. how do you do it? What is your success, and how have you been successful in it?
See, for me, data is much more important than anything else, because anything that is going viral or going out is coming from the GTMT. And for us, it is very important that whatever data that we project or we incur is actually in sync with all the campaigns that we run. Two things that are very important is phone numbers and email IDs. So we always keep a hygiene check of both of these. Plus, we always have a in-depth analysis on the name, last name plus company names, because these are the three parameters which keep on changes. You will find that companies are changing. A lot of people do change every second or third year. You will find that these people are not relevant anymore. So for that, we always do a hygiene check every now and then, and we put the data accurately so that once it is required for an idea campaign or an email campaign, we have both of these things in sync, and we are not subjective to that. We are not sure that how we will manage this. That's how.
I can go for it.
Yeah, I think I'll keep it short and sweet, right? You stop segmenting when you don't have contextual messaging, right? Like that's it, right? Like, I mean, you know that, okay, I've created 2 segments, and 2 segments I'm going to send out 2 different emailers. Sure. And then you can also segment based on performance and stuff, like as what Ayush was mentioning. One in spam, one in old, right? Like, stuff like that. Like, if you don't have any contextual or performance related aspect to that segment, then you'll stop doing it.
Got it. Very much makes sense. I usually go for it.
Very interesting. All of these 3 other examples are B2C segments, right? So you actually can use email marketing to do segmentation. In the B2B space, right? My prescriber base for a certain medicine doesn't change as a result of the email, right? If you don't get any patient for diabetes, you will not give them a medicine for diabetes. It's as simple as that. So I don't segment basis email and email trends. It's only to check if a particular messaging has registered, but otherwise the segmentation, the action stays basis their overall business behavior and not really email behavior. So and that applies to a lot of high engagement B2B industries with a smaller cloud of people, as opposed to an expandable B2C base, which would keep changing or which you would need to tweak all the time. So if you have a concentrated, intense, dense set of users, which email look at their overall behavior and journey with you and contextualize and segment basis.
Got it. Makes complete sense. Ayush, what's your take?
Most marketers that I usually have had a pleasure to interact with, right? They actually like doing segmentation while sitting on the Excel sheet. I think you're fed on with unnecessary data because you're looking at the columns. I don't like segmenting on the basis of this. I of course have a look at the columns before, but I like to go to the whiteboard with my marker and pen or paper right now to actually write down who I want to segment to. It just makes things so much easier. I mean, I always like the rule of percentages, right? I like 100 people in the room. How do I segregate them? As simple as this. So, I mean, if you make it too difficult, I mean, I don't think you're doing a good job anyway, because as Gowtham very, very rightly said, marketers are also lazy people, right? So it's going to be pretty common. Okay, we have like 6 segments, but are we sending any different communication? No, 6 segments just for our understanding, but then same communication to them. That's also spamming, by the way. So
got it. Lovely answers. All right. Next segment is content marketing. So for everyone here, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. I will get as many of them as possible answered. So content marketing. This comes from the audience. Ira asks, when's the right time to start content marketing for a startup? Tamanna, go for it.
See, content plays a very important role, and if you are not, so I will divide it into 2 parts. One is in logical sync, and one is in emotional perspective. So all the content that goes out should be very emotionally in sync with the customers or the target market that you are planning to target, and all your plans that you want to execute or the numbers that you are targeting should be put in your logical parameters. And you should always analyze it on the basis of customers being driven to the numbers that you have got. If your emotions are working, X emotion is working for Y campaign, then it means that this particular emotions is more likely to give you a logical result. And if this particular set of emotions is not working for a logical set, so it's always about an experimentation. And for a new brand who's coming in, it's very important that you play around the customers, play it very sarcastically, play it very innovatively, play with the emotions, play with emojis. Like for example, Lays has done this. Lays has tremendously achieved a lot of campaigns with this, just because they know that how and when is the right time to put in the right kind of campaign. I would definitely say that content is the key for all this success.
Got it. Gautam, what's your take on content marketing for startups? You're muted.
Gautam, you're muted.
You're muted. We can't hear you.
I did that twice. So
What some good expressions though.
Content marketing for startups. What's your take?
So I mean, that's right. Like I mean, it goes down to your product. Like for example, if your product is an educatory product, it sort of requires content to explain to them what you're actually trying to do. Then content starts from your day one, right? Like I mean, without it, you can't function basically. But there are also other startups which are probably in the established market segments or established industries. And stuff. You don't require so much content, but more requires value on pricing, being economical, being so on and so forth, right? Like that sort of adds value in terms of impulsive purchases. Those don't necessarily need content from the day one. Probably once they start establishing, they need testimonials, they need content to sort of relate with customers and stuff like that. So when do you start is a question that you have to retrospect and ask what product you're selling.
Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
I'd say everyone should do content all the time, except you should know what you're doing it for. Are you doing it to educate the plan user as buyer, as Gautam was saying, right? Are you using it for awareness? Are you using it to deliver value on a comparative feature? So what problem is your content solving for you? Is your content just a tool for you to be discovered, on multiple channels? Is it a tool for you to get advocates, right? Which is what Tamanna was saying, that we have thought leaders who talk about us. Is it a tool to build credibility? So you can do a gazillion things with content. You just should do it irrespective, and then figure out what you're doing it for.
Got it. Ayush, what's your take?
I think I'd actually like to go beyond what Gautam actually mentioned and build on top of that. Well, actually, I think the content actually begins minus day 160, man. I mean, I don't think the content begins from day one. It should begin much earlier, depending, because you said startup. So as if it's an established business, of course, I mean, I'm selling real estate. I mean, what content do I have to put? Obviously, I talk great pricing, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, so much cost, so much area, and not too much to talk about. Or maybe I don't have that on the top of my head right now. But if it's about a startup and you're trying to disrupt a space or you're trying to create a mini space of your own, then it's all about creating content way before the product even hits the road. I actually prefer doing that. And when the content, basically talks, relates with the users, connects with people, content actually gives you it improves your MVP so much, a minimum viable product so much, that right before you hit the market, you already have a lot of feedback and you have improved the product. So I think it begins much before.
Love it. All right. Next question to Tamanna. We say attention spans are going down, but yet we write 2,000, 3,000 word blogs that are like 5 to 7 minute reads. How would you as a marketer make your audience read that piece? I mean, you've spent so much time writing it, and it's not like people are not writing it, but the attention span is also going down. So what would be your way of making your audience read that really long article?
See, for specifically in terms of me running any campaign, I usually don't write such big articles anyway. You will not find it anywhere from us, at least. But on another end, if you really want them to read it and go viral about it, you just need to use some infographics, use some catchy images, use some emotions, use some catchy lines, put question marks, put questions every second or fourth line, and then people are more likely to read it. What is this about? What it is about? What is the answer that they are trying to give it to? So you have to increase the flow of the content. Plus, you need to understand that people are likely to read your content only when you are giving them some value. So you need to add some values, some numbers, some stats, so that these people are quite in sync with what you are saying and how you are saying. So it should be a content flow, like a brand story that you're trying to do.
Got it. Got it. Gautam, go for it.
Yeah, I see. It's definitely the audience that you're reaching out to, right? Like, I mean, it's all about targeting. Like, for example, if you're writing a 2,000-word article and you're giving it to a person who does not see any. I mean, I'm keeping on repeating this word value, but I think it sort of boils down to that, right? If you're writing a 2,000-word article who's in marketing, but you write probably a healthcare related article and you target that particular person, it's not going to add any value to him, right? Like, so he's not going to read it. So this 2,000 words is if it happens that only in 2,000 that you can explain this product, then there's no other way around it, and you should explain this product in 2,000 words. But just have to ensure that who you're targeting is willing to sort of put in that time and then know about your product.
Got it. Got it. Ayushi, go for it.
So it depends. If I write a 2,000-word article, that actually might be less if I'm communicating a healthcare messaging to a scientist, for instance, right, who wants to read papers, not to a patient, right? But this time when everyone wanted to make really tiny videos because people's attention spans were dropping, the same set of people will write 1,000-word long comments on Facebook while fighting with someone and watch 20-minute long makeup videos. So it's how you engage your users. I mean, the article is just an example, but long form content work just has to be constantly engaging and people watch. We all watch long videos. We all read longish things if we are the TG for it, right? A lot of Indians don't like to read because they don't read English so well, which is the whole format where marketers communicate. Hence, videos do well. If you're doing long form content, you just have to make sure that the messaging and the format is sort of matches with TG.
Got it. Ayush, what's your take?
I think there is a very important line that I keep on repeating every webinar I actually attend. Mm-hmm. It's that marketing is like dating. I strongly believe that, and why so? Because I mean, as you said, the attention spans have gone down, but I think it's a Tinder generation of marketing right now. It's not that people don't have attention; it's just that people don't have attention when they are choosing. So they have too many messages, too many things to look at. But once they choose that, hey, okay, fine, this is what I want to focus my attention to. We also are sitting in a very lonely world right now. So people actually want to go on Tinder and they're expecting a Shadi.com kind of engagement. So that's what people actually feel when it comes to marketing. I think, obviously you have to stand out when it comes to starting out your first message. The first impression has to be super solid. But after that, you can take your time, and slowly build up. So 2,000 words, you write 15,000 words. I think people read a book as well, as long as it is entertaining, provides value, and at the same time feels genuine. I think these three things are a must for a long drawn content.
Got it. Lovely. All right, last question, which I think all of you will love from my side, is how does PR play into the entire content strategy, and how can you make PR work for you? Tamanna, this goes directly to you first.
Okay, so since for us, PR has been one of those. So we have been an asset for a lot of PRs, I would say. So a lot of times we get a reach out that, why don't you publish this? Why don't you publish that? But see, understand there is a virality that we are being a brand. It's very important that whatever we print or whatever we say, it has a brand value that is added to us. And we cannot play anything and everything. Like, for example, one guy was like, he owns a cockroach, what do you say? Like, for example, a rat killer, right? So that was a cockroach killer kind of something. And he wanted us, and he reached out to us from multiple sources, from multiple PRs, but we were helpless. We were not going to print that thing. So it's very important that whatever is coming to us makes sense to us and makes sense to the audience also, because whatever we are writing, people believe us. And we as a brand, we always want that whatever needs to go out from us should actually make sense. And we actually are in sync with a lot of PRs according to the same sense. So if you see all the people around there that we are contacted in HT or in Mint or anywhere, we always have a mutual bid. So and it is very important for us to build the same network and for them also. But as I ideally said, it's always that what kind of rich content that they are giving it to us. If it is good, we are very open to publish it. If it is not, then we are more likely to say no, like in corporate.
Got it. Gowtham, what's your take on PR and content and how to make it work for you?
Yeah, I think PR is a form of marketing that sort of adds value or adds credibility to your brand, right? Like I mean, you can have 15, 20 articles talking about your own product, but one article from a reviewer would sort of stand a higher chance in terms of establishing what your product is than your 10 articles would have done, right? So having said that, so see, like how do you sort of make it work for this thing? You should try to be like, you should not sort of try and like you should be as authentic as possible with the person with the reporter who's gonna sort of write about your product. Giving him his free space, providing him all the information so he can actually give his take on that particular messaging that goes out. Right? And yeah, I think PR is a beautiful tool to sort of provide in that credibility and authenticity for your product.
Lovely, just on time. Very good. Ayush, go for it.
I feel about PR the way Ayush feels about landing pages. So we go about it for half an hour. It's an incredibly important piece. I don't look at it as a channel. It's pretty much an end goal when you start getting written about and talked about, right? There's this one book that I recommend everyone, which is The Fall of Advertising and the Rise of PR. You must read it. PR is how brands are built today. Us chatting away on social media is fake PR for brands, right? So PR is no longer the press release wali dunya that people keep thinking of it to be. It's incredibly important. If you get your PR game right, a lot of things will fall into place for you.
Got it. Lovely. Ayush, what's your take?
Oh, I was busy writing the name of the book. But to talk about PR, obviously, it's majorly about providing credibility. Of course, you are writing the content yourself and pushing it out across as well. Again, let me just pull in the same example from the dating marketing, parallel that I keep drawing. It's about, hey, I'm a great guy. You hire a PR agency. He says, hey, girl, that's a great guy. Obviously, just adds credibility, nothing else. Yeah. So, of course, the channels also matter a lot. I mean, who is saying it's a great guy? Obviously, for example, if a startup gets a article printed out by a new blog, of course it helps, but it's not as impactful as, say, probably printed out by, say, a Your Story. That actually helps a lot.
Got it. All right. So that brings us to the end of the session. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy the buzzer buzzed a couple of times. That is like a success metric for me. Like the buzzer kitne baar baja hai session mein. That's a success metric I follow. So thank you guys so much. We'll quickly just jump into audience questions. There have been some awesome audience questions. Whoever gave the clapping hands, thank you guys so much. Please feel free to drop in emotions. You can just tap it at the bottom and throw up some hearts and happy faces. But let's quickly get to the audience questions. So among us, do you ever target customers in the loyal segment? Like, is that a segment in itself? And I think this came around at the time we were talking about email marketing. So feel free, there's no buzzer for these, but try and keep them as short as possible. Just have a conversation. It's not one by one. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. Yes, we do target customers in the loyal segment, right? Because they are for advocates and they're also repeat purchasers, and they're the people who you can sell to and cross sell to, and they're the ones who will see merit. Have that one, which that one special list of customers who don't want to spam because it's so important for you. So yes, targeting customers in the loyal segment is important, and perhaps this service that you can do to people who actually love and use your product is to give them the same treatment that you give to someone who doesn't.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
Okay, one thing I'd like to add. Yeah, Gowtham, go ahead, please.
Either one.
I'm probably just adding on what I said now. Like, I mean, it's just a matter of, like, I mean, if there's like a personalized thing, it's you're only giving this particular offer to a select set of customers, or you're getting this particular value only to the select set of customers, then your loyal segment should definitely be a part of it, and you should probably like nail them. But I think that question sort of comes in two things, right? One, do you want to spend money on a loyal segment? Two, and is also a factor that spamming them too much will they like not be a loyal segment before, right? I mean, as I mentioned, sort of a message, definitely loyal segment. And if it is a special offer or something that you're letting in your loyal customers know before the others and stuff like that, then your loyal customers again come. But regular communication, I think you should keep them a little away. Because you know for a fact that they'll be loyal, right?
They're already loving. You don't need to convince them. Ayush, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, mostly covered by both of them. Just one more point to add. I mean, of course, loyal customers. So I usually prefer loyal when launching out a new brand. I really like to put two kinds of customers into loyal category. One is early adopters who believed in the product way before it hit the critical mass of success, and second, those customers who keep on going for repeat buys. Why? Because I want more people like that. So understanding those as users, their behaviors, their cohorts, and not, I mean, why only emails, man? I mean, if I were you, I would not just stick to emails. I would actually call them up and try to figure them out. And why did they buy? How did they buy? I would like to understand them a bit more. So I'll not limit them to.
In fact, adding on to Ayush's point, I would say that it's better to take the feedback from these loyal customers. Once you take the feedback, you are more likely to turn around your marketing strategies according to that. And once you do that, there is more likelihood that your loyal customer base will increase. And it's always good to ask them maybe a separate email or a call to these people that you have been a loyal customer and we really enjoy putting you in place. So why don't you come up and share your experiences with us and valuing them also? That's one of the things that you should always keep in mind before doing anything, because these people have been loyal to you. You should be loyal to them. So it's always a give and take kind of thing.
Makes sense. Nikhil asks, does it make sense to list offerings on a landing page? I mean, that's a very vague question, but what do you think in terms of listing out offers on your landing page?
Can we get Nikhil to elaborate the question? Because I think that's a must for any landing page. Maybe he wants to ask something different.
Okay, I'll go on to the next question. Nikhil is here still. So Nikhil, can you please just go one step deeper into that? That would be awesome. Till then, we go to another question. So Udit asked that most of you said that revenue is the most important parameter when you're pitching to an investor, but a lot of you didn't say salesperson for a digital marketing role. Any particular reason for that?
Not all have the skills for it.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I mean, I'd any day hire a salesperson for digital marketing roles as long as they have the skill to run campaigns.
Also, one of the things is that, and this is perhaps one way in which digital marketing is different. It actually requires a lot of subject matter expertise that keeps changing dynamically. A lot of, and I'm being perhaps very obnoxious when I say this, a lot of brand marketers who intuitively understand creatives and language fail at technically or digitally amplifying it correctly. It's because it goes against the basics of what they think is right. Just blowing up your own logo, for instance.
Yeah.
I will get blacklisted out of the community. But digital marketing is different from brand marketing, and not everyone has the job for it. The good thing is everyone can very easily build jobs for it.
Yeah.
It's very accessible.
Yeah, totally. Anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'll do quickly. Like, I mean, in the digital world, a performance marketer is the new sales guy, right? Like,
yeah.
He sort of does the work for you, Like, I mean, the reason why I said graphic designer, I mean, looping back to that same question, is because I can do the performance marketing bit. And I would want someone to compliment me because I only have one hire, right? I can't do multiple hires. I have a startup. So I would probably want to like diversify my skill sets of team that comes into the play, right?
Got it. Love
In fact, adding on to all of your points, there are a few things that we all need to think before pulling in anything in terms of revenue, because See, on one aspect we talk about customers, on another aspect we talk about revenue. Anyway, the revenue is coming from the customers, and if we are not in sync with our customers and our loyal base, what do you think that do we stand? And a sales guy is a person who has been in the front end and he knows the customer very well. So it's very important to have a person who can digitally innovate the front end wala thing into a virtual world. And just like, for example, we were just talking about air meet before the
Yeah.
session began, right? The entire base has been designed in such a manner that we actually feel like we are in a session where we are talking like a panelist. So this is something that is very required, and this you can always find from a salesperson. And even as a marketer, I always look up to these salespeople and ask them that what is the thing that you think that your customers are more likely to be interested in, and it's very good to get a review from these people.
Got it. Yeah, got it. Aditya asked a really interesting question. He says, best practices for cross-selling. I mean, Ayush, maybe you would want to take this question first?
Yeah, sure. For cross-selling, it's majorly about the best practices. I mean, it depends on product to product, category to category, rather, Aditya. I mean, for e-commerce, it's like what matches. I mean, it depends on the flow. So particularly, if you look at very good e-commerce websites like Amazon, or non-e-commerce websites like Netflix, they have a very strong recommendation engine. So there is the idea of cross-selling is actually to rather use a recommendation engine. There are third-party recommendation engines available. So if you can afford them, please use them, because it will take time for you to actually make your own. On the other hand, if you feel, I actually just want to make it as simple, you'll probably understand, look at your loyal customer base, right? The customer base that has been actually going for repeat purchases. Look at that, figure out what kind of choices are going for. So for example, on e-commerce, when I look at a fashion store, you're looking at, okay, somebody is buying a kurta, might as well they would want to buy sandals or some other accessory as well. So how do you complete the look for them? So I think that's the easy way to do it.
Got it. Anyone else want to add on?
I'll just quickly add on here, right? Like, I mean, the best practices, I think, so first you'll have to start with some sanity test, right? Like, for example, you have to really find out if there's a synergy between both of your products. Like if your target group matches with the other person's target, so that you can have some incremental value that you can provide to these customers. Right? So that is very important to understand whether there is a synergy. Second thing is, I just want to add one more thing to it, right? Like probably referral programs are a great way to start, right? Like, I mean, if you refer a product, probably you have certain benefits from my product and also from this product. And the same can sort of go with the other person's referral program. So,
Ayushi, Tamanna?
Yeah.
For cross-selling, multiple things, right? What are you cross-selling and who are you cross-selling first? So am I giving you a bookmark along with a book, or asking you to buy a Kindle versus asking you to purchase furniture for the library, right? It's not the same customer journey. So once you know the customer journey and who you are selling what, you then build in appropriately. So whether it's creating more content that will create enough awareness for someone to click on the CTA versus a referral program versus a demo. It just, the tools change. So there's no one best practice for cross selling. I wouldn't say that. I won't be able to pick.
Got it. Tamanna?
I would say that cross-selling is very subjective to different brands. If you see e-com, they have been using it virally. And a lot of B2B companies have also started pulling these things. So if you see, a lot of software companies have started saying that, why don't you buy a CRM plus marketing tool enabled with it? And this is what kind of offerings that we are going to do.
Yeah.
And that is very interesting to know, that because B2B is a kind of market that people hardly actually interact and never thought that this will actually work for them. But this has been a very good gig for them. And if you see, one of the examples I really like to talk about is Bevaku. Bevaku.com has been using it very well. Yeah. And if you see the way they send it to you, so if you buy something, there is a kind of token of gift that you usually receive. And there was a time then these people stopped sending it. So people got back to them that, why are you not sending it? We usually buy it just because of the token of gift that you used to send it to us. And it was very cool and very fun. And that's where people found it very interesting. So
Right.
cross-selling is more subjective to the what kind of audience that you're trying to bring in,
Lovely.
and what kind of communication are you using to
Right.
get it?
Totally. I see Ayush is making all his notes. He's taking down notes on everybody's answers. Love it. Very nice. Nikhil replied back and he said, what tools or methods do you use to understand your consumers better? I guess he changed his question, but that's fine. What tools or methods do you take to understand your consumer better? Anyone can take it first. Gautam, if you want to go first.
Sure. I think, like, as in, like, if you're a startup, right, you should probably like check out all these free tools. First is Google Analytics. You have like a decent amount of information there. And then another way to sort of go about is research, right? Like, I mean, you can probably segment your users into converters, non-converters, cancelers, and so on and so forth. And then you can probably like understand what sort of TG, like you can ask them questions like, what are your interests? What do you have? Like in our segment, we sort of go about understanding whether they have a vehicle before or don't have a vehicle before, and so on and so forth. I mean, so these are like the cheaper ways, but there are expensive tools that, I mean, if you sort of go into like an Omnichart of an Adobe or a Google 360 for that matter, they give you like very in-depth details about audiences.
Right.
But like these are like what I generally use is GA and probably research.
Got it. Ayushi, what do you think? What are your tools?
Own CRM data, obviously, and your own, native tools that are your own or proprietary analytics and insights that are available. LinkedIn pages, for instance, have a fabulous analytics section if you ever use them. I also use social media listening a lot. I've done a lot of social media listening projects over the last 1 year, and I think they're fabulous. Though obviously there's an investment, your organization has to have a tool and all of that in place for you to purchase a license to be able to do it. But once you have a listening tool and you know how to work it, you will get the layer of insights that it's impossible to get from anywhere else, especially if you don't have your own data yet, right? So launching a product and you want to do like a pre-campaign listing, that works a lot.
Got it. Tamanna, Ayush?
Yeah, I would go next. So what kind of tools? We usually start with the buyer persona. We use HubSpot for creating a buyer persona for any kind of campaign that we are planning to go ahead with. And we analyze different people according to the industry. We look up to the salespeople, get in hold of them and ask them what kind of your customers that you are planning to reach out. And then we convert the same thing into a digital campaign. Once the digital campaigns are in sync with what we want, then we come up with the GA analysis, that these kind of tools that we can use anywhere. And GA has been an important source because you get a lot of information about demographics, and everything is available in one short.
Right.
And you are, because we have multiple industries that we target, B2B and B2C. So we are ideally open to get it, and we actually get a lot of analysis around the same thing. So I would obviously recommend HubSpot and GA to everyone use, and in fact use some tools inside your social media also. There are insights that give you what are the updates from your customers, what are customers experience that they have been using.
Totally. Ayush?
So I mean, GA is great, but then it doesn't tell about the customers. It tells about customer cohorts rather. So I like GA, of course, but then very frankly, it doesn't answer all the questions that I usually have. And thankfully, I mean, I actually get to ask a lot of questions. So that's something I keep on doing all the time. So one of my go-to tools is AppsFlyer, because we have an app. So that gives me a lot of data. So AppsFlyer, Branch, depending on which app, third-party integrator you're actually using. It could be, there are many available, obviously. I hope you're using some of them. Other than that, what really answers a lot of questions, that's something not a lot of industries actually use. But I actually prefer to get a bit more personal, and I try to use heat maps a lot. So, for example, for mobile phones, UX Scam is really good. No, not scam. It's a UX and then CAM, CAM.
Yes.
So UX Scam is extremely good. It actually gives you a heat map of all the user cohorts of how they're actually using the mobile app in real life. that gives me a very good data key and click karke what really happens and how does the journey go for.
Right.
And so because in say branch or some other tool, you're actually looking at हाँ ठीक है drop off हो गया.
Yeah.
Why did the drop off really happen?
Don't know.
I would rather want to look above the shoulder and figure out.
Right.
And when it comes to our loyal customers, I really go the old school way, and I'll actually like to pick up the phone and dial, and I love doing that. I think talking to 5 customers versus looking at 500 data points from a large database, I think I'd prefer the qualitative method as well.
Got it. Lovely. With that, episode 8 is a wrap. Thank you all for attending. Thank you to all the speakers. You guys shared so many insights, and each episode just keeps getting better and better because of all the insights. And it kind of works as a tool for me to keep learning and seeing what everybody is up to. So thank you all so much for that. Stay tuned. Next episode is in 2 weeks. Now I'm going to end the session. That being said, all the speakers can go to the social lounge. Please feel free to sit on a table with them, chat with them, ask your questions. I know there was some we couldn't get answered. But yeah, lovely having you guys, and see you for the next episode in just about 2 weeks. Take care.
Hey, thank you, Vanshika.
Take care.
Thank you, Vanshika.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, guys.